Before I sit, my name is Jordan Rambo. I am a managing director with Accenture. For those who don't know who or what Accenture does, we are a professional services organization globally. We focus predominantly on technology and innovation. That's kind of the core of who we are. We've got 740,000 people globally, 120 countries. And so I also have the privilege of serving as our office managing director for the Philadelphia Metro location. So we've got about 2,300 folks that call Philly Metro home. Part of my responsibility is keeping those individuals engaged, but more importantly is how we show up in the community and how we create inclusivity within our organization. So it's really near and dear to my heart. And so I'm excited for this conversation and join with some incredible thought leaders in this space. And so I'm gonna have y'all introduce yourselves in a second. But I think the conversation that we just had from the Commerce Department was a really important one. It was around how are we attracting tech talent into Philadelphia? The conversation that we're gonna have right now is, that's beautiful. How do we retain that tech talent? How do we create environments for our diverse talent to thrive? And so that's the discussion that we want to have today. And I'm going to ask these folks to not only talk about experiences, but also some strategies that we as individuals can take, as organizations can take, so that we're ensuring that we're creating that inclusivity within our either our organizations, with our communities and our partners. And how do we retain that vibrant diversity that the Commerce Department talked about is a strength of Philadelphia that I believe we need to really tap into. So with that, I'm gonna ask y'all to just, I think it's important that you get to know the panelists a little bit, so I'm gonna ask y'all just to give a little bit of your backstory, your origin story, and maybe Kham, we can start with you.
Okay, so good morning? We still in the morning?
Still in the morning, yeah.
Cool. All right, so good morning, everyone. My name is Kham Ward. I'm the founder and CEO of Black Men in Tech. What that means is that I run a nonprofit that's focused on making sure that tech is a space for black men where they also are thriving, also being retained. We're also not exclusively just for men, but we're all for everyone. I get that question all the time. But home base is Fort Lauderdale, Florida. I'm super excited to be here. We run an organization right now with 23,000 people in touch points. We do programs all year round. So I'm excited to have this conversation because diversity is at the heart of what we do and what we focus on. We really focus on inclusion as well. Inclusion to me is a step beyond tolerance. It takes trust and vulnerability to build that, and I'm excited to be sharing the stage with these awesome people because of the conversation we had pre-talk about being able to connect one to another and inclusion being the mechanism to make that happen. So thank you all, and I'm excited about this.
Beautiful. Tatiana?
Yeah, so where's my tribe? How you feeling, Philly? Come on. There you go. So, well, just want to say thank you so much to Shannon and her team for making Diversitech happen here in Philly. Round of applause to them. Thank you, Jordan, Kham, Gloria, for showing up with me, and for you, the audience, being here is so monumental to us, not just having this discussion, but it's also the action steps that, what are we gonna do after this? Because we can talk about this all day, every month, every year. So I'm Tatiana Carett. I know that name does not sound Latino at all. And I'm the president of Latinas in Tech New York City. Latinas in Tech is a nonprofit organization that was started in 2014 by two women who looked at each other and said, we're the Latinas. In Silicon Valley, mind you. And what started as a meetup is now a global nonprofit, 25 chapter cities around the world, 27,000 members. And we also have some LIT Philly chapter leaders here. So what do? We connect, empower, and support Latinas in the tech sector. But like Kham said, you know, if you come to any of our free events, anywhere in the US or if you want to go to Madrid or Dublin, if you want to go to an event there, you're more than welcome to be there too. Registration is free, membership is free, and we want to do that because we want to lower that barrier, right, to developing these diverse communities. And we understand that, yes, okay, we're Latinas and we're going to speak Spanish, Portuguese, right? Because, we're all so inclusive of our wonderful ladies in Brazil. But, there's so many different ways to build this community. So that's my passion project, but I'm really a healthcare management consultant at a large firm. And I've been in healthcare for 25 years. I've pivoted a couple of times, and we can talk about that too, like the transferable skills. So, we're really here for you. We would love to engage with you, and I'm ready to have fun, right, Gloria? I'm gonna pass it on to you.
Always ready to have fun. So good morning. I am Gloria Bell, and really happy to be back at Diversitech. I think I've been here almost every single year since Shannon and the Tribaja team started this, and so proud and so happy with everything that they've done over the years. So I want to start by giving Shannon and her team another huge round of applause, because what they've done and what they've built is amazing. And I'm just honored to be a part of it again. So, as I said, I am Gloria Bell. I wear a few hats, so excuse the slightly long introduction. I am one of the founders of the Women in Tech Summit. We are a national conference for women and non-binary individuals who work in either technical or non-technical roles in every field in technology at every level of your career. And our goal is to provide you education, inspiration, and connections to help you grow your career in tech. We just had our spring summit here in Philadelphia back last week on Thursday and Friday to help kick off Philly Tech Week with 370 attendees, including Ms. Tatiana. And really, thank you. Really had an amazing time. And Women in Tech Summit is a program of the nonprofit I run, the Inspiring Tech Foundation, whose mission is to provide education and networking opportunities for underserved groups in tech. And the other hat I wear is as a board member of Philly Startup Leaders. We are the area's largest entrepreneur group. We provide education, resources, and support for anyone who is either a founder or just interested in becoming a founder. We have 13,000 members across the Philadelphia region, and really encourage you, if you are an entrepreneur or even entrepreneur curious, check out what we're doing, and we can help you figure out how to grow, start, and scale a company.
I love it. So listen, outside of this panel conversation we're about to have, please find these individuals and add them to your network. I mean, this is a wealth of knowledge that we have on the stage, and they have access to so many different resources, so please make that a priority. Gloria, I'm gonna start with you. Given your role in creation of being the founder of the Women in Tech Summit, can you just spend a little bit of time talking about some of the challenges that women go through, specifically in the field of technology, and then also maybe talk a little bit about some of the answers to some of those challenges, how to remove some of those barriers that you've seen be very effective?
So the challenges are deep. I hate to start off with a little bit of a negative, but I'm going to, because it is a little discouraging to me that we're still having some of the same conversations, excuse me, that we were having when I started this work over 20 years ago. But I am also very encouraged by the fact that we are still having those conversations. Because what happens all too often when you work in any type of diversity or equity or inclusion work is sometimes the conversations fall off. And what is very, very encouraging to me is because of people like yourselves, people like Shannon, a lot of the people that you're going to meet at this conference over the next few days, those conversations have not stopped, and those conversations are elevated. So I'm encouraged by that. As far as the issues that women face, we still face sexism. We face the little comments that happen. We still face having to work harder and longer for some of the same opportunities. And we are all too familiar, because it's in the news all the time, that we still face a pay gap. Some of the things that can happen, and you're probably going to hear me say this a few times in reference to a few of the things that we're going to discuss, is that companies need to start walking their talk. There are way too many companies out there who they have policies and they have great PR programs that talk about how much they support women and how much they support diversity. But when you start looking at where they actually put their dollars and where they actually put their efforts, it is not in the things that they say they support. One of the things that we as individuals can do is start holding their feet to the fire and make them walk their talk. Which means when we internally see our companies not doing the things that they say they support, we need to be calling them on it. And there are ways to do that in very professional ways, and it's by asking questions. It's by, when you do your review every year, and you get to make those little comments, and you get to evaluate things, ask those questions. When they ask you what it is your goals are, what it is your plan is for the next year, you start putting those professional development things in there, saying, I want to do this. And then when you get pushback, you say, but you say you support this. There are little ways that we can start working toward making them support it. The other thing is, too, I think it's really, really important, and we talk a lot about this, but I think it's hugely important that we really stop and look in the mirror and make sure that we are actually doing it. We talk about finding our tribe, and you all have taken a huge step toward that by being in this room. But we really do need to find those people who can be that support for us. And not just the people that we can bitch to, but the people who are actually going to help us get something done. So in finding your tribe, make sure you're being very deliberate in who is in that circle. Who are your personal board of directors? Who are the people that are going to help you move forward? Because they will help you make very conscious decisions and help you make very conscious choices, so that when you're facing that person in your workplace who is being inappropriate, they'll help you figure out how to present that to the right people in your company in a way that is going to get noticed and is going to get action. When you are having to have uncomfortable conversations, they're going to be there to be your support and to hold you up so that you can have that uncomfortable conversation and you can find your voice. So I could sit up here for the 5 hours and tell you a lot of different things, but I think a lot of it starts with having the right people around you.
Yeah, I love that. Having the right people and holding people accountable, right? Tatiana, similar question, looking at it through the lens of Latinas, some of the same challenge or some of the challenges that Latinas face in the tech workforce, and how you're seeing some of those barriers get broken down as well.
Yeah, thank you so much. And Gloria, everything you said, I was like, So what's interesting about the Latinx community is that, and Latinas, right, it's not just gender, but it's ethnicity, right? And Latinas come in all shapes, sizes, colors, right? Like, we have Afro-Latinas, we have Asian Latinas, we have Muslim Latinas, we have Jewish Latinas, we have LGBTQ Latinas, we have, right? I'm from Venezuela, and so, seeing the richness of our community is so beautiful. And, in terms of the challenges, I think there's that intersectionality, right, of the gender and the ethnicity, right? So of course, we come in sometimes from countries that speak Spanish or Portuguese, and so we're gonna have, I'm first gen, so having those language barriers could be a little bit challenging, right, as you're getting acclimated. But it's also being, I would say, discredited or discounted, right? Like you come in and people may see you and not think that you have what it takes to make it in STEM, right? All my degrees are in STEM. I have 3 master's degrees, and sometimes what Gloria is saying, like you have to do more of something. You have to prove yourself each and every time. But I'm gonna flip that. I'm gonna talk about our unique strengths and qualities because, yeah, okay, we know what the challenges are, but what can we do about it? And like Gloria said, how can we hold our communities and organizations accountable? So, the Latinx community and Latinas too, we're just so hard work ethic and resilient, right? Again, always doing certifications, always looking for training, always doing. I grew up in a single parent home, and all the single moms, Latina single moms, they lived together, they took care of each other's kids, they cooked for each other, they gave each other 0 interest loans, And so that resiliency and ability to kind of come together in community, I think it's a strength. Also, cultural intelligence and authenticity, that's important. Those are leadership traits because that helps us build these cross-functional teams that you need in tech, right? You have designers, developers, you have testers, UX, UI professionals. You need to be able to connect with all of them and build relationships. You need that to be leaders in the space. And I would also say adaptability. And Jordan, we were talking about that, like just going with the flow. Yes, you'll see challenges, but we can go around them. So I think that's your superpower. And don't forget it.
I love that. And so you use those strengths that are inherent in all of us, right? Kham, we talked a little bit before we got on stage, and we talked about black men and some of the challenges that black men go through in technology. And we know that within the field, if you look at the percentage of black executives, I think it's at 3%. If you look at in the startup community, it's at 1%. So there are some challenges with retaining black talent in the technology field. So maybe you can touch on that a little bit, and then what specifically are you doing around those challenges?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So first thing I'll tell you is a system situation. It's a system oppression, all right? The system is designed for individuals the system is made for individuals and designed for individuals in mind. When you think about black men in particular and all minority groups, the system isn't built for us, right? So what that means to us is that we have to take a different approach to get to where we want to get to and be a bit creative, right? And navigate the spaces in a way that makes sense. For black men, it's no different. When you all are talking, I'm sitting there like, yeah, that's us too. But for us, it's more so about the stereotypical behavior, right? So black men are always known as aggressive, always known as people that are, combative, that sort of thing. You're meant to fear black men, right? Sometimes we talk about this all the time, and Jordan probably could attest, like we walk around with a smile on our face. We're not always that damn happy, but we smile so people are, not on guard at our mere presence, which is problematic in itself. What we can do around these things, though, is continue to find our community. We run an organization called Black Men in Tech, where we literally build community for black men and black people. We're about open access. We're about community and education. That's how you're going to combat the system that's designed with you not in mind. Finding people like these people on the stage and Jordan, who runs a whole office in Philly, and connecting with these people. Now, I'm going to tell you, all folks ain't gonna be the folks that you want to talk to, and they may look just like you, all right? But you gotta be okay with that. It's fine, You know, everybody's on their own path and journey. But I would tell you immediately, find your community. All right, we know the stereotypical behavior. We know what we're up against when we walk in. No matter what your minority group is, the way you combat that is through community and being able to connect and get educated and have the resources of like-minded individuals like yourself.
Love it. And I want to piggyback off of that a little bit, because we've mentioned a few times about finding your tribe, right, and the importance of that, and whether that shows up in terms of mentorship and allyship, I think is another very important one. So maybe, Gloria, if you could talk a little bit about your experiences with mentors, allies, how that's been used as an asset, as a tool to help accelerate, and how we could think about that as we go about our own personal journeys.
Yeah, absolutely. When I was young in my career, so I had a 22-year corporate career before I walked away from it, walked away from the very fat paycheck and the 401k and all the benefits to start my own consulting company and be very poor for a very long time. But I didn't have a mentor in the early part of my career, and it made a big difference. So that was part of why I was very determined to be one later in my career. And I think it's really important that one of the things, there's a lot of great mentoring programs out there. So one, go find you a mentor. And one of the things, I think we don't say this often enough, and I think both of you, all three of you would agree with me on this, a mentor does not have to be older than you. Mentor up, mentor down. One of my best mentors is actually, and I'm going to give away my age, 30 years younger than me. But she's the one who keeps me up to date on everything that's going on in the world that I wouldn't know otherwise. She keeps me up on the technology. She keeps me up on everything. But one of the things, too, that I think is really important with mentorship is that when you're looking at a mentorship program, we need to make sure that more mentorship and mentee programs are actually teaching you how to be a mentor and how to be a mentee. Because that is one of the things that's missing. Is it's great to connect with another individual and say, I'm going to mentor you, or will you be my mentor? But if you're not putting structure around that, if it's not time-based, you don't want a mentorship you don't want to mentor that it's this indefinite period of time. Because what if you actually don't get along with that individual? It's also, you want some structure around the idea of what is this about? What are your goals? What are you trying to achieve? And as a mentee, you also need to know what is it that you're wanting out of this mentorship. So, don't go into it blind. And I think allyship needs to be the same way. We need to understand, what are we expecting of our allies? Because if you're not on the same page in any of these relationships, mentorship, sponsorship, allyship, if you don't understand what it is that you are both trying to get out of the relationship, and if you're not on the same page about that, it's not going to be successful. And if it's not successful, it's not going to get you where you need to go.
Yeah, I completely agree. And being very intentional about the relationship is really important. Tatiana, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, on the mentorship, allyship, and executive sponsorship, just to add a little bit more to that, agreed with Gloria on all fronts. Sometimes, like Latinas in Tech, we have a mentorship program, and it's very well structured. We try to align you based on your interest and skills and where you want to go. So you need that structure. You need to have a goal. What are you trying to get out of this? But agreed, like Kham said, a lot of these organizations are not built to help us advance. And so we're kind of floundering in there, trying to figure it out, try to navigate by ourselves. Don't do that. One of the things that I haven't done, and Gloria, you mentioned you didn't have a mentor earlier in your career, I haven't had an executive sponsor, and that's like career suicide. Does anybody know the difference between a mentor and a sponsor? No? Okay, so let's talk about that. A sponsor is someone that is an executive leadership level that's going to advocate for you. They're not necessarily going to be there like, Kham, you should do this and do that, right? They're going to just advocate for you when you're not in the room. They're going to say, Kham has done all these amazing things, and you haven't, given him the credit for that. We need to rethink his promotion. That's what an executive sponsor does. And so, yes, you may think, well, this sounds kind of like I'm taking advantage of this person. But hello, a lot of people have executive sponsors, and that's what they've done to leverage and hop and leapfrog in their career. And meanwhile, we're like, oh, we didn't know, and your head's down doing all this work, right? So yes to executive sponsorship, yes to the right mentorship, and allyship. I think all of us could be allies, right? Like, sometimes I'm in the room with, African-American men or African-American women, and they may be glossed over. They may be discounted in what they say, and then I'm going to be like, Kham said that. You may have made that point, but Kham, just showed you the whole presentation about this.
Yeah, I think that executive sponsorship is such an important part, and those who are not of color, that comes more naturally, or should I say, the executive sponsor will find those individuals a lot easier, right? And so it takes more action. It requires that we be a little more intentional about seeking out who those executive sponsors are. Kham, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, so I'm gonna give you a Kham tip right off of the bat. Don't walk up to someone and say, hey, can you be my sponsor? And you don't even know them. That's weird, all right? So if you don't learn nothing else today from me, just don't do that, all right? No, but honestly, seriously, for me, it's about representation and mentorship. I have a mentor for different parts of my life and things that I know they're experts in, but honestly, I don't even call them a mentor. I just call them a phone call. I'll call people when I need certain things or I need to bounce certain ideas off individuals, and they give me their sound advice, and I respect it, and I take it into consideration. That's for me what mentorship is. I'll tell you a quick story. One of my people in my community that I actually talk to all the time is a C-level executive. He don't even know that because of him, I am who I am, and because of him, I'm able to present the way I present. I saw him on stage one time, and he was giving a panel like this, and my guy had on J's. He had his hair, I don't have any hair. He had braids in his hair. He had on a hoodie. I said, I'm never wearing a suit again. And because seeing him and being able to hear him talk and share, his knowledge, and, that made me feel different inside about the way I look and present, so things like that are important. Mentorship is important, but you also want to have an advocate. You also want to have a sponsor, because a sponsor, to your point, is going to go in the room and speak on your behalf, and you're never going to know it. And that's the point of a sponsor. Sponsor puts you in position and place that you say, well, I didn't even apply to that job. How I get that call? Because your sponsor see the work you're doing now, and it puts you 3-4 levels ahead of where you should be, but because you did the work. So my point to you all today as we wrap this up is to always do the work. You never know who's watching, and always be a learner. It should be a true pedagogy moment where you all are learning from each other at the same time. Us up on the stage are still learning, so you're a forever learner, and continue to thrive in a space where you can succeed beyond your wildest dreams.
Yeah, it's beautiful. And the only thing I would add to that is turn around and grab somebody and pull them along with you, right?
That's the only way.
And that's paying it forward is what we need to do. So I think we have time for maybe 1 or 2 questions.
I wanted to ask a question around opening doors. You guys had a lot of insight on mentorship, allyship and doing the work. But to succeed in any of these industries, you have to first get your foot in the door.
Yes.
And that's not always easy,
Yes.
depending on what background you're coming from.
Yep.
So how do you create the space for someone to get their foot in the door and then also give them the opportunity to fail, because you're just getting your foot in the door, right? You can fail and then grow along the way. How do you create that space within diversity and allow for it to exist without letting it become a negative outlook on the individual or the kind of like space you're trying to create?
Yeah, so for me, really quickly, I'm gonna jump in and not pass it. For me, opening the door is essential to any path or any job, any first early career individual. For me personally, I open the door by I hire for my weakness. So if you got a strength that's my weakness, usually organizations, usually being on time, I can just go down a list of things that I'm not good at. But if you're good at those things, the door's already open to you. From there, we project manage. From there, we figure out what's the best way to move forward. I will tell you, on my team, and my team is here somewhere around this room, you probably see them over there somewhere, we fail fast. If you're gonna do something wrong, do it 100% wrong, right? And do it quick. Because once you make that mistake or you make that misstep, we're gonna correct it and it's never gonna happen again. A cool person, somebody famous said before, like, hey, a person made a mistake. Are you gonna fire them? No. Why? Because why would I fire my best asset, right? So for me, it's about making sure that you have the intangibles that I don't have. That way you're an asset to the team. And then from there, we grow it out. We talk about your path, we talk and we move forward, but fail fast. If you don't have a leader that allow you to fail and fail fast, then they're probably not the right position for you.
I'll just add really quickly, how we open doors is by providing resources, right? So Latinas in Tech, we come to me, and there's like so many resources. We post everything on LinkedIn, IG, or social media, but sometimes like if a job comes to me and I know someone's looking, I'm like, I'm gonna introduce you to the hiring manager on LinkedIn, and you just do it. Just do it, right? I've gotten so many opportunities because of the programs I've been on. I did Management Leadership for Tomorrow, amazing org by John Rice. I did their MBA prep program. They also have a career prep program. There's Perscolas. There's so many great orgs that do scholarship, training, education, not just, younger populations, but across the lifespan. So we're here for you, and we're here to provide resources and connect you to them. Go ahead, Gloria.
Okay, I'm going to piggyback on what Tatiana said, which is network, 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 network. I cannot say enough that connect with as many people as you can. But the second thing I'm also going to kind of leave you with is the thought that, especially when you're very early in your career, especially when you're coming right out of college, you go out looking for the perfect job. Especially if you're in tech, you go out looking for the job at the FANG company. Sometimes it is much more important to find the job that is the right culture fit. That's going to open the door. That's going to be the one that's going to let you learn. That's going to be the one that's going to let you fail and grow. So maybe you need to rethink, where is the place I want to work, as opposed to where is the job that I'm supposed to have.
Yeah, that's tremendous advice. I think that is our time. And the last thing I'll add to that is, don't be afraid to kick in doors. Listen, the opportunity, the network, we got to continue to do everything that they describe. Be obsessed, be passionate about whatever that is that you want to do, and go and open some doors. Kick them in.
And can I add 5 seconds? Tech is ever changing. Don't think because you don't have the right skill sets or this or that. Throw that in the garbage. That imposter syndrome is garbage. Right. Okay? Right. You got what it takes. You are the future of tech. Okay? Because you have skills, you're smart, and you can figure it out. And believe me, right? Like, what percentage of skills in a new job you can learn on the job, right? So, trust in yourself. I know you can do it, and thank you for being here.
right, thank y'all.